So picture walking into a massive sports bar on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh yeah, the best time to go.
Exactly. And you are immediately surrounded by a video wall of like 160 flat screen TVs. They are perfectly synced and all responding to commands instantly.
It feels like magic, honestly.
It really does. But today, our mission in this deep dive is to decode the incredibly dense, jargon-filled spec sheets from the AV vendor HDTV Supply.
Right, to figure out exactly how this magic actually happens
Yeah.
without, the whole system crashing.
Yeah, and HDTV Supply is the perfect source for this. I mean, they have a 25-year history and over 10,000 positive reviews.
Definitely. Their catalog is exactly where you go to build those massive, stadium-sized multi-screen systems.
But rather than looking at the giant screens themselves, we are zooming in on the invisible backbone, one tiny, highly specific device they sell.
Right, the Avenview C5-RS232-S transmitter.
Okay, let's unpack this. To really grasp why this little box matters to you as a viewer, we have to look at a fundamental engineering problem.
The distance problem, yeah. Because if your control room is securely tucked away on one side of a huge complex, how do you reliably send commands to a screen that is literally a kilometer away?
Well, looking at the spec sheet here, this Avenview transmitter solves that by sending RS-232 data up to 1,000 meters.
Which is about 1,100 yards.
Right, over a standard CT5 cable. But for anyone not installing commercial AV for a living, what actually is RS-232 data in a CT5 cable?
It's actually simpler than it sounds. So CT5 is just your standard everyday internet cable.
The one with the little plastic clip.
Exactly. And RS-232 is this old school, incredibly reliable communication standard used for sending simple text commands.
Like telling a TV to power on or switch to channel 4.
You got it.
But the spec sheet specifically brags that this is a real-time, pure hardware solution. I mean, I have to push back on that being a selling point.
Really? Why is that?
Well, we live in a world where everything is software. We run our lives from cloud-based apps. Insisting on a pure hardware connection feels a bit like clinging to a physical light switch when you have a fancy smart home app right on your phone.
What's fascinating here is that you might love your smart app at home, but imagine what happens in that sports bar when 500 fans suddenly pull out their phones.
Oh, right, to live stream the halftime show or something.
Exactly. The Wi-Fi network immediately chokes. So if your TVs are running on that same wireless network or relying on a cloud app, you've just lost control of your entire venue.
Oh, wow, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, a pure hardware connection guarantees total immunity to network congestion. There is zero software lag.
So when you trigger a command, it travels down that physical cable instantly, every single time.
Completely bypasses the local Wi-Fi.
Okay, so a pure physical connection solves our distance and reliability problem for one screen. But a massive sports bar has 160 screens.
A lot of screens.
Right, so if you have to run 160 separate 1,000-meter cables from a single control room, you are going to bankrupt the bar on copper wiring alone.
Not to mention an absolute nightmare of tangled wiring inside the walls.
Exactly. So how do they avoid that?
That brings us to a feature on this device called Cascading. It has an extra RJ45 port.
Which is just the technical name for that standard plastic Ethernet jack.
Right, and it's specifically designed to daisy-chain remote units together.
Yeah.
You can cascade up to 32 of these devices in a single sequence.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The physical footprint of this thing is wild.
It's tiny, right?
Yeah, the specs say it's just 2.5 by 1.9 inches and consumes a maximum of only 1 watt of power.
That is literally the size of a deck of cards.
And it uses less power than a single LED Christmas light, yet it's driving the backbone of a stadium-sized display. But wait.
Yeah.
If you are chaining 32 devices in a row, doesn't the signal eventually degrade?
Like losing quality down the line?
Right. It reminds me of playing the game of telephone as a kid. By the time you whisper the message down a line of 32 people, it's completely fuzzy and distorted.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, that would happen if this were an analog signal. But this is where the mechanism of digital transmission is so vital.
So it's not like the human voices in the telephone game.
No, exactly. Unlike voices that just get quieter and fuzzier, this digital transmitter acts like an active relay.
Oh, okay.
Imagine playing telephone, but instead of whispering, every person in line has a notepad.
So they write it down.
Yeah, they read the exact sentence, rewrite it perfectly in bold ink, and hand the fresh note to the next person.
Oh, that makes sense. So it doesn't just pass a fading electrical current along.
Right. It reads the incoming ones and zeros, cleans them up, and builds a brand new, full-strength signal to push to the next device.
And that perfect regeneration ensures every command arrives completely synchronized across all 32 devices. No distortion and no lag.
Exactly. It guarantees that every TV in the chain switches to the game at the exact same millisecond.
So, what does this all mean? We started out talking about these awe-inspiring, room-sized video networks.
The ones that look like pure magic.
Right. But it turns out the core making it all possible isn't a massive supercomputer. It's a $249 card-sized, low-power piece of hardware.
Precisely. So the next time you are sitting there watching a game across a perfectly synchronized 100 TV setup, you will know it isn't magic.
It's robust, compact hardware pulling the strings behind the drywall.
Couldn't have said it better.
It really makes you wonder, though, in an era completely obsessed with wireless technology, floating clouds, and smart apps, is it possible that the most reliable, mission-critical systems running our highly visual world are still secretly relying on hardwired, physical daisy chains?
It's definitely something to think about.
Something to mull over the next time you're waiting for an app to buffer just to turn on your living room lights. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.